1981 wasn't just another year for rock. It was a firestorm of anthems that cut through radios, packed arenas, and burned their way into memory. These were the songs that soundtracked nights of chaos, mornings of heartbreak, and drives that felt endless. From riffs that lit sparks to choruses that carried whole stadiums, these 10 tracks defined the year and proved that rock was alive, defiant, and unforgettable. Number 10, Find Your Way Back, Jefferson Starship. Momentum surges from the very first chord. Find Your Way Back is an open invitation to hit the road and never look over your shoulder. Bold and driving, it channels that restless spirit of freedom that was woven into so many rock songs of the early 80s. The guitar riff kicks in like an engine roaring to life, steady and confident, while the rhythm section locks into a groove that feels like it could carry you across miles of open highway. Mickey Thomas's vocals soar over the top, sharp and insistent, urging you forward with every line. Released as the lead single from Modern Times, the track gave Jefferson Starship a fresh jolt of energy in a new decade. It climbed into the top 40 and became a staple of their live shows, showcasing that the band could adapt and evolve while keeping their adventurous core intact. Number 9, Too Much Time on My Hands, Styx. Picture a smoky bar in the early 80s, neon lights buzzing, clocks ticking far too slow. Out of that restless air came Too Much Time on My Hands, a track that somehow made boredom sound like the life of the party. Instead of sinking into gloom, Styx spun wasted hours into sly humor and a groove you couldn't ignore. Tommy Shaw's vocals carried the smirk, playful and sharp, while the band's tight instrumentation gave the song a pulse that felt both ironic and irresistible. It wasn't grandiose, it was cheeky. Proof that even a progressive rock powerhouse could poke fun at life's smaller frustrations. Released as the second single from Paradise Theater, it hit number 1, 9 on the Billboard Hot 100, Shaw's only top 10 single as lead writer and vocalist. And when its quirky video hit MTV, it shot into heavy rotation, instantly etching the song into pop culture. Number 8, Flying High Again, Ozzy Osbourne. If there was any doubt Ozzy could rise from the ashes of Black Sabbath, Flying High Again shattered it. A soaring anthem off Diary of a Madman, it captured the rebellious joy of his solo resurgence, powered by Randy Rhoads' dazzling guitar work. The track opens with swagger, heavy riffs locking into place before Ozzy's unmistakable voice cuts through with a gleeful defiance. It's not subtle, it's bold, triumphant, almost reckless, a celebration of pushing higher when the world expects you to fall. Released in October 1981, it climbed to number 2 on Billboard's Top Tracks chart and quickly became a staple of Ozzy's live sets. Though some misread it as a drug anthem, Ozzy himself insisted it was more about his career rebirth, a declaration that he was back, unapologetically and untouchable. Flying High Again is the sound of defiance turned into celebration. A moment where Ozzy, against every odd, proved that his solo career wasn't just viable, it was destined for greatness. Number 7, Burnin' For You, Blue Oyster Cult. Few songs capture the feel of a late-night drive like Burnin' For You. From the opening riff, it glows with a cool, cruising energy, shimmering guitars and a steady beat that seem built for highways lit only by headlights. Released on Fire of Unknown Origin, the track marked a turn toward a more melodic, radio-friendly sound for the band. That shift worked. It hit number 1 on Billboard's Rock Tracks and became one of their biggest singles, cementing its place alongside Don't Fear the Reaper as a defining Blue Oyster Cult moment. What makes it endure isn't just its chart success, but its hypnotic mood. It's rock that doesn't need to shout to be powerful, content to smolder instead of explode. And in that restraint lies its brilliance. More than 40 years later, it's still the perfect soundtrack for neon nights and endless roads. Number 6, Hold On Loosely, 38 Special. A sunlit highway. Windows down, hair in the wind, guitars cutting through the air like steel. That's the feel of Hold On Loosely, a southern rock anthem that carried grit in its verses and freedom in its chorus. From the opening riff, it doesn't just play, it paints. But this wasn't just a road song, it was advice dressed in melody. The chorus, Hold On Loosely, but don't let go, landed like truth you didn't know you needed. Love, it reminded us, thrives with space, not chains. A simple message, but one that gave the song staying power far beyond its release. Dropped as the lead single from Wild Eyed Southern Boys, it became the band's breakthrough, soaring to number 1. 3 on Billboard's Rock Tracks and breaking into the Hot 100. And when MTV flickered on for the very first time in 1981, this track was there, helping to define what rock looked and sounded like in the new decade. More than 40 years later, it's still rolling down highways, proof that the best lessons don't always come from books. They come from a riff you can't forget. Number 5, The Waiting. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Patience never sounded so urgent. The Waiting is Tom Petty at his most heartfelt, turning longing into a chorus that feels like it's been waiting inside all of us. From the jangling guitars to Petty's weathered drawl, every element carries the weight of anticipation. Released in April 1981 as the lead single from Hard Promises, it soared to number 1 on Billboard's rock tracks, holding the top spot for 6 weeks, and landed in the top 20 on the Hot 100. It quickly became one of Petty's signature songs, performed night after night with the same urgency it had on record. The Waiting isn't just about longing. It's about endurance, a reminder that while waiting may be the hardest part, it's also the part that makes fulfillment worth it. Number 4, Working for the Weekend, Loverboy. What does freedom sound like when the clock finally hits 5? Working for the Weekend answered with pure adrenaline. In just 3 minutes, it flipped exhaustion into celebration, giving every worker a soundtrack for escape. The guitars hit like a jolt of momentum, while bright synth stabs splash color across the beat. Mike Reno's voice soars over it all, carrying a thrill that feels impossible to resist. Every note is a rallying cry, pushing you out the door and onto the dance floor. Released in September 1981 as the lead single from Get Lucky, it rose to number 1, 29 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the Rock Tracks chart. But its true victory was cultural. It became Friday night's anthem, blasting in bars, arenas, and radios across North America. Decades later, it still feels like ritual. The clock ticks, the doors swing wide, and the night begins with Loverboy urging you to move. Number 3, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, The Police. Some songs feel touched by enchantment, and Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic is one of them. From the sparkling piano intro to the soaring chorus, it radiates joy, capturing the rush of being hopelessly infatuated. Sting first wrote the song years before the Police hit it big, and when it came time to record Ghost in the Machine, they built the final version around his old demo. The result blended new wave, pop, and reggae-tinged rhythms into something unique, a sound both familiar and fresh. The lyrics tumble forward like a confession spilling out, nervous but unstoppable. Everything she does feels like magic, and the music mirrors that spellbound energy, bright and alive at every turn. Released in October 1981, it topped the UK charts and reached number 1. 3 in the US, cementing itself as one of the Police's biggest hits. Its unusual reliance on piano and synth rather than the band's typical guitar-driven sound gave it a lightness that stood out against their earlier work. Number 2, Start Me Up, The Rolling Stones. What happens when a reggae experiment hidden in the vault ignites into a stadium-setting rock anthem? Start Me Up did just that. From the moment Keith Richards unleashes that iconic riff, it's like a match struck in the dark instant fire, instant swagger, with Mick Jagger sliding in, playful yet commanding. Originally tried out as a reggae track called Never Stop during earlier sessions, it was left unfinished until the Tattoo You recordings in 1981. Engineer Chris Kimsey dug up a raw rock take, polished it with fresh vocals and Bob Clearmountain's reverb, and suddenly the Stones had lightning in a bottle. Released as the lead single, it shot to number 1, 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and ruled the Rock Tracks chart for 13 weeks. To this day, its riff remains the band's most famous show opener, proof that sometimes a forgotten idea can roar back louder than ever. Number 1, In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. Some songs don't just play, they haunt. In the Air Tonight is one of those rare tracks that stops time, pulling you into a space heavy with tension and mystery. From the first echoing notes, it feels like a confession whispered in the dark. Collins wrote it during the collapse of his first marriage, pouring heartbreak and anger into every line. For minutes, the song simmers, sparse synths and haunting vocals keeping you suspended in anticipation. Then it hits, that drum break, a thunderclap that became legendary, shaking not just the song, but the culture around it. Released in January 1981 as the lead single from Face Value, it climbed charts worldwide and carved out Collins' identity outside Genesis. Rumors swirled about hidden meanings and dark secrets, but the truth was simpler. It was pure emotion, raw and unfiltered. Over 40 years later, In the Air Tonight still chills, still stuns, still lingers long after the last note. Not just a song, but an atmosphere. Not just a hit, but a haunting.